Coming to you from Farmer Dave's Kitchen here in Drayton, Massachusetts, I'm Stacey.
I'm Denise.
And we're here to help you prepare your share. It's time for squash. This is one of my favorite parts of the late fall share. But then there's also Romanesco and Celeriac.
But this is the squash segment.
This is the squash segment, I know. It's safe to say that we're all crazy for squash around here. Behold the rainbow in front of us right now. We are going to go through and ID the different squashes, and then these are items that you may see in your CSA share or in the farm stand.
Absolutely.
Would you like to begin on your side?
I would love to. So we're going to start with the dumpling. We have a delicata. We have a butterkin. This I like to call the kalbasa, but it's really not that. It's a kalabasa. Acorn. A spaghetti.
This is the carnival. This is the butternut, which is pretty common. Most people use butternut.
Yep.
Sugar pumpkin. And the buttercup, one of my favorites.
Mine as well. So for short-term storage on these, on the counter is completely okay. Room temperature works out just fine.
Now for the long-term storage. That way you have squash well after the CSA season is over. You're going to keep them in a cool, well-ventilated area. For example, wire shelves or a basket in a breezeway, basement, or pantry, as long as it's cool. You do want to protect them from freezing, however. So just check your temperature and see how it goes as the weather gets colder. You also want to rotate your stock. Use your thinner skin varieties first, like the delicata squash and the spaghetti squash. Your butternut and your buttercup have thicker skins, and those will have a longer shelf life for you.
Absolutely.
So now we're going to move these to a side, and we're going to show you how to actually cut these.
Yes,
So,
safely.
Safely, correct.
That is the key.
Aside.
Okay.
Yeah, you can keep him.
Oh, thanks.
All right.
Good stuff, good stuff. Okay.
There we go.
So a sharp knife is your first tool. These have really tough exteriors and very odd shapes, so very important to start out with a sharp knife. Okay.
Also, a secure cutting board.
Yes.
I really particularly like these because they have edges on the back, and they really, it's not going.
Right.
Now, if you do have a slippery board, the easiest thing to do is to take some paper towels, or if you have a thin dish towel, dampen it and put it underneath, and then put this on top of it.
Great idea.
It just adds that stick factor.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And then you are going to need either a spoon or maybe even a melon baller to be able to scoop out the seeds. And that's kind of it.
That's really it. Yeah,
That's
definitely.
it. Simple tools here.
So now we're going to start cutting.
All right, beautiful.
All right, first I think the delicata.
The delicata.
I think that would be the one you're going to use first.
Okay. So this is probably one of the more easy squash to cut. We are actually going to go ahead and make rings out of this. You can go ahead and cut in half and possibly stuff this, but we're going to go ahead and do it this way today. So again, I'm going to get a firm grip on here, and we're going to cut this way. Almost like a zucchini or a summer squash, honestly.
Just a little tougher.
But it's a little tougher, exactly.
Keep your fingers curled. And another way that I find with some of these, if you're finding it too difficult, is to go in with the tip first, cut half, and then spin it.
Spin. Just to make sure we're getting it approximately the same. Excellent. Here we go.
And one more.
Again, I'm going very slow to make sure that I'm not slipping. So you get the idea. Beautiful.
All right. And then cleaning them out.
Usually just take a little spoon, zip, zip.
And then what we would do with these, what I love to do with these is you can also cut these on a mandolin if you wanted to.
Oh.
So depends on how involved you want it to get. If you want to cut either end off or cut it in half and then get in there with a butter knife and get the seeds out, so you basically have the squash and it's hollow.
Sure.
You could use a mandolin if you have it at home. and you would cut it much thinner.
I like that idea.
And then you could roast it. Either one will work, though. I was just thinking of the mandolin as a example because once you roast these, if you do thinner slices, you could actually top them on like a white pizza or something like that, which is really, really good.
That
it's a different use for the squash, but it's just something different.
We like different.
So you're going to put olive oil on these and just lay them all out like this and put them in the oven. As far as roasting squashes, I usually do about 350 because I find, unless it's one of the bigger ones,
right,
these are definitely quick,
yeah. They're a little bit smaller
I would
size.
probably start checking it at about 15 minutes, and I think this would be pretty good.
That's delicious. Okay, so then our next is the dumpling. Again, fairly simple. Let's grab maybe this one. So if it does have a stem, some you may receive with or without. So we want to go ahead and see if we can get the stem off of this one here.
Actually,
do you have a good suggestion for that? Think you can snap it? Look at muscles over here.
There you go.
Nice. Okay, and for this particular one, we're just going to actually cut off the top portion of this, scoop the seeds out, right?
You can just cut it and stuff it. So I just cut it. They're small enough, and they're almost like little, what I would do is maybe go in with your tip.
Yeah, you think so? Yeah. Okay.
They're like little serving plates.
That's cool.
Dishes.
Yeah.
So you could do it a couple ways. You can cut the top off and then hollow it out and roast it, and then just eat it like it was your dish. Put in some butter, some seasonings, different things like that.
Okay.
Or I think it might need a little bit more.
It might need a little more. I'm not sure I can do that with the spoon. Do you think that you could cut a little this way with the knife? What do you think?
So if you go in, and I would just keep your fingers back.
Right.
And go in at an angle. And keep flipping it so that you're cutting away from you. I'm cutting down right now. So then I'm going to flip it and cut down.
There we go.
And flip it and cut down.
Nice. Yeah, so hopefully we can get this little
stem out.
Pop him
out.
If we
can't, you know what?
Just cut a little more off.
I'm going to cut just a little bit more off.
And again, just taking our time,
and making
sure we're doing it safely.
From me. Just in a circle.
There are the seeds.
There we go.
Nice.
So scrape those seeds out.
Okay.
Now I know it doesn't look like there's much space in this, but it's actually perfect. You're going to put it in, you're going to roast it. It's going to get nice and soft. Then you're going to be able to go in with a fork and just kind of almost mash it in its own little shell. And then you can add a little butter. You can add some chopped sage, whatever you have. Just eat it straight up with salt and pepper. They're really, really delicious.
Instant portion control.
Totally. I mean, look at that. It's adorable.
That is great. All right.
So the
Very
next
good.
one.
All right, spaghetti. I'm going to hand this one to you.
Okay. Spaghetti squash. And it's exactly what it sounds. When you roast this and you start to take it apart, it looks like strands of spaghetti. It's pretty cool. Gonna go in and cut with the tip. So right in the middle, down and away. Okay. Get it out. Flip it away.
Okay.
Down and away. I think I just about got through it.
I think so, yeah.
There we go. Now,
pretty color.
No kidding, huh? So the good thing with this is when you are doing that method where you go in with the tip and you're kind of going around, what you're doing is cutting through the rind and the flesh.
Yep.
Because they are hollow in the middle. So even if you only get in and you do that all the way around, more than likely you're going to be able to pull it apart like that.
To pop it open.
It'll be easier.
Okay. Nice.
Just taking out a few of the seeds in the middle. But I'm not hollowing it out a lot. Just the ones that are right on top.
Attached to the strands.
Yep.
Okay.
See, they really weren't. There we go. It really helps having a spoon with an edge or that melon baller because sometimes the strands can be a little tough.
They're really attached.
They're really attached to the seeds. There we go. Most of them are out. So then what I would do with this is just put a little olive oil on it and then just flip it upside down on a baking sheet.
Nice.
Bake it until it's tender. You just go in with your knife and you'll poke it. See if it goes in. If it goes right in and comes right out, you know it's done. And then when it's cool enough to handle it, you're gonna take a fork and you're just gonna go in and you're gonna fluff it, basically. And all this flesh is actually strands of squash.
So cool.
And it's gonna come out and it looks like spaghetti. And then you can use it as spaghetti if you wanted to put marinara on it. If you wanted to mix all that on it and then put it back in the shell, again, it's a dish.
I love that idea.
So,
Yeah,
it's really
that's
cool.
so cool. Really cool.
All right, next one.
Okay. Acorn.
I think the butterkin. Is actually just like the dumpling.
Yes.
So you would do the same thing. You can cut it in half, cut off the top. These are the perfect serving sizes, especially this one. If you were to cut off the top and roast it and then hollow it out and make soup out of it, and then you could serve it right in the...
So nice.
Just like a sugar pumpkin.
Yeah.
If you made pumpkin soup and hollowed this out, and you could serve it right back in the pumpkin again.
You sure can.
So, we have that.
Nice.
Now, one of the tougher ones, we're gonna do acorn. And why I say this is one of the tougher ones is it's just an odd shape, rolls around a whole lot here. So what I'm gonna do, I wanna do rings with this one.
Okay.
So, for safety's sake, I'm taking just a little edge off.
Okay. Just to give it a flat
I mean,
surface so it
what a
doesn't
difference.
roll.
It's either that or I'm trying to cut it like this.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't want that rind as much as I want my fingers, so
Yes.
I'm fine with having a little of that off.
Absolutely.
That's okay with me. So this will stay more secure. Then I can go in, and this is a little harder, so I'm gonna go in with the tip. Spin, down, spin, down. Now I slipped, but my fingers were back here.
Yep. So
if I was here, that would have been a problem. So that's why I'm always curl your fingers and make sure your fingers are back from the knife. So then I'm gonna go back and hold it. I'm gonna do rings.
They look like flowers.
That's why
All
I
the
like the squash.
scalloping is so pretty.
So there you go. Now the top
Nice.
one, we don't have to clean. I'm gonna do one more.
I usually cut mine just in half, so this is a wonderful new technique for me to be learning.
You can cut it right in half. You can cut these right in half and roast them.
Yeah.
Upright, and you could put all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff to flavor them if you want. The thing with these squashes is they don't need a whole lot.
The
They're
flavor
really
is amazing.
sweet. The flavor is amazing. So I like just cooking them and seeing what they taste like. And then if I want to do something different with it, I do it afterwards. So then this, we're just going to remove the seeds.
So darn pretty.
Okay, and it does, if you look at it, it looks like a flower.
It's nice.
So then you can roast the slabs, and it's just a really pretty presentation.
It's
you
gorgeous.
Can do some maple syrup on it or something like that if you wanted to. I think it's super pretty. The other thing about the squash is this rind you do not eat. You would eat everything out of the center, where the delicata is so thin-skinned you can actually eat
the skin on
eat
that.
the skin on it. So that's the difference between the two.
Right. Okay. That is good to know.
Next one. Now the carnival is shaped very similar to the acorn. I would cut it exactly the same way. Either in half, clean it out and bake it, or into rings. That's what I would do with that one.
Easy enough to do.
Now the butternut. This is, everybody, I think, has had a butternut squash.
And this is a very typical size and shape.
Right. Every now and then, we get some
funny
different
one.
ones. Kind of looks like a duck.
Yeah,
I like this
little
one.
gooseneck.
So, but we're gonna cut this one. Now, a couple different ways you can do this. Some people have a hard time cutting, and that's fine. You could prick this with a fork.
Okay.
And you could actually put the whole butternut squash with a little bit of water right in your slow cooker.
Oh.
And it will steam it, and it will make it much softer.
Okay.
So you can do it for a little while and then take it out and cut it, or you could cook it in that. And then when you go to take it out, the interior just falls out of the, exactly. So that's really easy.
That's a fun way.
But what I like to do with this is actually separate it.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go in and just go around. I like I was doing. There we go. So now we have 2 sections. So I'm going to deal with this section now. The nice thing is, it's not going to go anywhere at this point.
No, it isn't.
So you can go in and peel it like this with your knife, or you can use a peeler. Now this is if you want to cut it into cubes. Mm-hmm. You could take it just like this and in these 2 sections.
Sure.
And put it in the oven and roast it on a sheet tray. That would be totally fine, especially if you're making mashed squash. It doesn't matter. As long as your pieces are in fairly the same shape and size so they cook evenly, it doesn't matter, you know, what it looks like. But if I want to do some cubed squash, and I'm going to do this all the way around, and I'm still keeping my fingers back.
Mm-hmm. Again, just being patient, go slow, be safe.
Go all the way around. And I'm cutting away from myself the entire time. So then what I would do, let's pretend the whole thing is done.
It does take some time.
Would you clean that up for me?
I will.
I mean, look at how dark
This is gorgeous.
orange these are. Absolutely beautiful. So then to cut it into cubes, I would go down.
Nice.
And maybe do that.
So you could do a boil to mash. You can roast.
You can roast. You can do it with other vegetables. You can mash it, cook it and mash it and freeze it. That way you already have it, so you can do the work ahead of time.
Oh, nice.
And then freeze the squash. I do that with the buttercup squash.
Okay.
I absolutely love the flavor of this one, and it's just great.
Nice.
So there's that to roast. Now the other option you can do with the squash is having a section. You can spiralize it. If you have a spiralizer, just cut off a section that is relatively the same size as the hole in the spiralizer, and you can spiralize it. You can also, what I did with this before, is shred it.
Oh.
Box grater, or if you have a food processor,
Okay.
shred it. Clean out all your seeds, put them through, and then I made a slaw.
Oh.
So I did raw butternut. It was raw.
Okay.
So it had a nice crunch to it. And it also holds up to the vinaigrette. So I just made a citrus vinaigrette with a little bit of honey, and then I turned around and I added craisins. So it was super
good.
pretty. You had the bright orange, and then the red from the craisins, and then the honey, and then the vinaigrette with the tang and everything. And because it's raw, it held up for days and days, which was great for the lunchbox.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
So that's a different use for your butternut. Now the other one I just want to show you is the buttercup, because I know that we're getting these. There's a lot of these. So another one, if I can get the top off. Yeah.
Ta-da-da.
So this is very awkward.
Yes.
So what I'm going to do is go in with the tip, and I'm going to hold it back here. Tipping down.
Okay.
Tipping down. You heard that.
Yes.
That's because I hit the seeds and the big hollow area. Pull that out. Back in. Tipping down. And I know this looks like I'm going nowhere fast, but all I'm doing is I'm almost cracking it open.
You can hear it as you continue to cut.
And I'm cutting away from me, and I'm cutting away from my hands. And again, we keep saying this. I know this takes longer, but you know what?
It's worth
Safer.
It's squash.
It's squash. Now I have a little stuck. There we go. Almost there.
Oh yeah, here we go.
So a larger knife might work, or if you have somebody that's got just a little bit more arm strength. Now, you could roast this whole. You just need to make sure that you prick it with enough holes with a fork.
Okay.
So there's
to
no
allow
explosions in your oven.
No
or you're gonna
exploding
be cleaning,
squash.
Yeah, you're not going to be cleaning squash. So here we go.
Look at the color.
So you see, the seeds are all in the middle. So all I was doing was scoring, going all the way through there. You know?
No, that's perfect.
Scrape that out. So then what I would do with this, and I would do a bunch of these at once and just get it done with. Roast them all on trays and then scrape them out, mash them, and freeze them.
The smell of this is so good.
The buttercup also, it's finer and smoother when you mash it, I find. So I've used these in desserts. Desserts.
Really?
So I've turned around and I've mashed it and I put it in rice pudding.
Delicious.
You know, you make your recipe and then you add stuff to it. So I put it in rice pudding. I've put it in custard. I've made panna cotta with it. I've also, last Thanksgiving, we had a creme brulee, but it was actually a buttercup creme brulee.
Wow.
So I just mashed it and I ran it through my blender to make sure it was really, really smooth.
Sure.
And then just cooked it with the...
Look at just the color even of all of these different squash. It's just really, really beautiful.
So that's a little fancy with the recipes, but you can just straight up roast it. The flavor is incredible. And then, you know, the sugar pumpkins. I know we did get sugar pumpkins. Same thing with these. If you can cut it into wedges and then roast it and then use it in smoothies.
Yep. Soup. Easy enough to do. You can toss that on salads as well. It's delicious.
Roast it on salads. Quinoa. Everybody's making quinoa now. Rice. Have a salad with the roasted vegetables in it. Risotto. It's just incredible. So you see these, and if you see one that you've never tried before, pick one up. If you see anything, I mean,
absolutely.
They'd be great in all sorts of recipes. And you go online, you can find all sorts of things. And we have this Vegisode now, so if you want to learn how to cut everything down.
Right. Set yourself up a challenge to try all the different squash.
Or at least one a month.
One a month. That's cool.
You know, and see how you like it. And then play around with recipes. Play around with the ingredients. It's nice and flexible.
Absolutely.
Okay?
So here's the dish that I found for squash. I was looking up just recipes for squash because we have so many of them. And I may have tweaked it a little bit, but this is what I did. So we went ahead and roasted the squash. We then also roasted a full head of garlic, both at the same time. Now, I've already done a little pre-work in advance. Obviously, these have already come out of the oven. This is what the squash looks like. Once this came out...
So it looks like you cut them into wedges?
I did. Just simply cut these into wedges on a cookie sheet with the parchment paper, a little bit of olive oil, 400 degrees on this, about 30 minutes. So I let it go for 10 to 15, flip them over, and then let them continue to cook. The garlic was actually in a little tinfoil pocket, also drizzled with a little bit of olive oil, and was just sitting on the side of this. So we were able to do both of them at the same time.
Excellent.
So once these came out and they were actually cooled off enough to be able to touch them, I went ahead just simply with a spoon, and look how soft this is now that it's already been roasted. So easy to handle. So we obviously just set that aside. Look how easy that was.
I know, that was very easy. I'm actually sitting here watching this in surprise, how easy that was.
You're like, how easy was this? This is crazy.
And you know what I like about the acorn is the fact that it's roasted, and you could do that, but it's still staying in cubes.
Yes, yes.
So it's not totally going to mash.
Exactly. So it's actually held up quite well. Now, when I made this recipe for the first time, I subbed out a butternut because that's just what I had at home. So feel free to substitute whatever squash might be your favorite, but the butternut held up as well. Like the texture and the firmness of that particular squash held up as well.
I think that sweet potatoes would work well in this too.
I think that would be great.
And then just once it cooled, dice the sweet potato.
I agree. Honestly, sweet potato really can be subbed out for
squashes,
any squash.
Just about.
Yep. I could not agree more. So again, you can see that this is very easy. It is keeping its shape. So don't overcook these. Make sure you are keeping your eye on it. Okay. This is so good. I'm refraining from eating some of this right now.
At least on camera right now.
At least on camera right now. But when I was making it at home, I may have been sampling. Okay. Now, while we were working on this, in the pan, a little bit of olive oil, a little bit of garlic, which obviously came from here, so we squeeze the garlic out and then use the back of the spoon to mash the garlic up against the sides of your pan. So a little bit of oil and a little bit of your garlic, and then pancetta.
Did you cook the pancetta ahead of time, right?
Cook the pancetta ahead of time, and then you can see, now you can buy this cubed up like this, or you can actually go to the deli. This was a trick I learned from Stacey because I kept buying it pre-packaged. You can get the whatever amount you want, essentially, and they'll cut you a slab, and then you can actually cut it yourself, which is really nice.
So it winds up being really nicely cubed, which is what you want, so that when it cooks, the edges get crispy, the fat renders out.
Yes.
But it doesn't, and it still gets that chew, which is what I like about it. It doesn't overcook.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
And the pancetta definitely is a little bit more on your delicate side, which is really nice with the sweetness of the squash.
Right.
Okay. The one other thing that's in here is rosemary. I've also subbed out and used thyme. We can sub out and use a sage. So really whatever your particular favorite might be, feel free to play around with that.
How nice would sage be with the squash?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? This would be nice, be a nice
very
Thanksgiving
nice, savory
dish.
little.
Okay.
Oh, it would be a good dish for Thanksgiving. Okay, so your next step, so you've got your olive oil, you have your garlic, you have your rosemary, you have your pancetta, so we're ready to go with our next step. We're gonna go ahead and put the squash right in here. Would you mind grabbing that spoon?
Go right ahead.
All right, so we're just gonna get all your squash. Beautiful. Stir that up.
Coat it.
Oh, I actually have one more squash here.
So we're doing this on the island. You would actually do this on the stove with it on probably what, medium-low?
Yes.
At this point?
At this point, because really everything is cooked.
It warm.
Literally only keeping this warm at this point. So, all right, let's get the last couple of squash in there. All right, so the next step is going to be the pasta. So the pasta's already been cooked and drained. When you drain, keep a little bit of your pasta water just in case you find this to be a little bit on the dry side.
I'm going to stir part way.
Perfect.
Before I put the entire. This is a box of penne.
Yes.
That's been cooked al dente, so it's got a little chew to it.
And I probably could have used a larger pot, maybe one size larger than this, but this one.
It's okay, we can do it.
Yeah, we can do this. It's fine, it's fine.
We'll just be very careful. Fold.
We're folding, we're folding. Now, once we get this incorporated, next is the cheese.
I was about to say, it's the cheese, right?
Cheese, exactly. So this is about a half a cup. It's probably a little more than a half a cup because I really like cheese. And again, just get all of this incorporated. And that's it. This is a no-bake.
Pepper in here too?
You know what? I didn't. There is no additional salt or pepper. You're really going to get the kick of salt from the pancetta. You're also going to get the kick of salt from your cheese. Feel free to salt to taste if you'd like, but I honestly didn't find it necessary.
The other thing, when you made it the other night and I tried it, when we were testing some of these out and the different ingredients,
yes,
it's a very delicate flavor. The pancetta, even though it's salty, it still has a delicate flavor. It doesn't have that smoke that bacon has, and it also doesn't render out a whole lot of fat. It's pretty. It's a pretty lean. It's pretty lean meat, and then you want to be able to taste the herbs because I think that's one of the things that highlights it on here. So I think not having the extra seasonings. Because you know me, I'm like, oh, let's try red pepper flake and everything. But I think red pepper flake would have totally blown the delicate flavors of this out.
Nature and the flavors of this particular dish. No,
and also, I just thought of this looking at it. How pretty would this be on top of a bed of greens?
It would be. It
so
really would be
Swiss chard,
beautiful.
kale, anything like that. If you had sautéed.
So just to serve, if you like a little more cheese. When you go to the restaurant, they always ask you if you want more cheese. I always say yes. And just a little more rosemary, honestly. That's just a tad bit. Rosemary, especially fresh herbs, are going to be very intense. So,
right. So we don't want to go too crazy with the rosemary.
Don't go too crazy. Absolutely.
So this is what it looks like. And again, a very versatile dish. You can turn around and substitute any squash, substitute sweet potatoes.
Absolutely.
If you don't want bacon, honestly, or pancetta. Also mushrooms. If you just let mushrooms get really roasty toasty in a skillet and then mix it in, other than the cheese, you have a vegetarian dish. So if you're not cooking for somebody that's vegan,
there you go.
And that mushrooms getting caramelized like that adds a whole other layer, which I think is similar to the pancetta and the bacon. So it kind of gives you the different.
It would be a nice
layers.
Balance. I need to try that one next.
I think that
We're
one would be
going
a
with
good one
squash and
next. And we're going to
mushrooms.
try squash and mushrooms next. So anyway, I hope this gives you a different idea. I think it's great, Denise. And you can try the different squashes and just see how it goes. And pasta, everybody loves pasta. So it would be a great way to try a new squash with a familiar dish like pasta and give it to the family. So
enjoy.
Enjoy it.